Even though it's called a bullfrog, it really, if you look at it from the underneath, it kind of has a lot of those brim type colors in it. If you want to doctor it up a little bit, you can even take an orange Sharpie. And everybody knows I'm a fan of coloring my baits with a Sharpie. Put you some orange up here on it, paint you some gills on it and stuff. Add a little bit of orange to the throat of that thing, and you're going to have a bait that looks just like a brim from underneath. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel again, and we are going to hit here in July on a couple baits that I think maybe kind of get overshadowed, but then once you watch the Technique of the Month video, hopefully you'll kind of see exactly what I'm thinking on completely on the application of these. July can be kind of a starting to enter that tough phase of the year. I think as bass fishermen, we look forward from like February to May or maybe June, and then once you get to July, it's like the wind is kind of let out of our sails a little bit until you get back to October, November, for the most part. But you can absolutely have some incredible days. Sometimes it's a really early morning bite, and sometimes it may surprise you, just how good that midday bite is. I don't do any more night fishing. I hadn't for a number of years, and I think I've mentioned that before. But if you do, this would be a good time of year to do that. Not necessarily on these baits, but just night fishing in general can be really good in the month of July. Both the baits actually that I'm going to talk about today are topwater baits, and I personally spend a lot of time this time of the year fishing in the rivers, and these will certainly work in the rivers, but these are definitely more kind of what I would think of, of stuff that I would be using in the lake probably this time of year, and fishing kind of what I would call a secondary pattern that, again, I'll really break down in that Technique of the Month video. But just to touch on it a little bit, is really focusing on that brim spawn or bluegill spawn, panfish spawn, as far as what I'm going to be focusing in on both of these. And one of them is a frog. A lot of the places where those fish are going to make a bed or spawn or whatever are going to be in and around cover. And if it's in that heavier cover, you got to have a bait that you can fish around those with, right? So you got to have something you're able to really get into that cover and still be weedless, and that's where that frog comes in. That's a Terminator. That's the Walking Frog Jr. in the bluegill color that just looks exactly like what those fish are feeding in on, what they're keyed in on. This particular frog has definitely caught some. You can tell by the scars on it and stuff that it's been in a few fish's mouth, and again, just an excellent way to imitate those bluegill, imitate kind of a struggling one up there in and amongst that heavy cover. The other one is one I'm going to fish in a little bit more open areas, but where I still have visibly located those brim beds, bluegill beds, whatever you want to call them. And that is the Rapala Skitter Prop. That's a bait that doesn't get a lot of love, honestly. But man, it can absolutely catch some fish. And that's the lime bullfrog color. And even though it's called a bullfrog, it really, if you look at it from the underneath, it kind of has a lot of those brim type colors in it. If you want to doctor it up a little bit, you can even take an orange Sharpie. And everybody knows I'm a fan of coloring my baits with a Sharpie. Put you some orange up here on it, paint you some gills on it and stuff. Add a little bit of orange to the throat of that thing, and you're going to have a bait that looks just like a brim from underneath. It's kind of got that darker colored back a little bit already on that. And I'm going to upgrade that and add a feathered treble hook on the back of that dude as well when I start fishing with that. And that's going to be on VMC hybrid treble hooks that I'm going to be fishing that with. But that is another good one, like I said, for a little bit more open water situations where those brim beds are out where they're easily accessible. That's going to be the bait that I throw in that situation then. Those are both both great ways to catch them, and for whatever reason, a prop bait does a better job on those brim beds than a popper or a walking style bait. I'm not exactly sure why. I don't really know the reason for that. I just know that it works. I've caught a ton of fish on a prop bait around when the bluegill are spawning. So it's just one of those kind of deals. I know it works, I know it's effective, and so that's why I use it. I don't really know the reason, but I just know that it does. And with that Walking Frog Junior, a lot of times I'm going to work that bait in a way to where it's kind of spitting water and throwing water and stuff. If I don't think it's enough, I'll go to the Popping Frog. But I do like that Walking Junior because of it being a little bit smaller profile. Plus, I can skip it really, really well back into some of that overhanging cover where I think those fish will be laying in the shade waiting to ambush those bluegill and stuff. So thank you all for watching. Hopefully these couple of baits, paired with that technique of the month video coming out here in just a couple days, will help you catch some more bass this month.